Hello, Internet Nation. Alexander here, and I just want to be a little controversial with you today because I have a question. And this question is going to involve some One Piece spoilers up to Egghead, but only in regards to backstories. Okay. So outside of the obvious, we all are in agreement that Kuma has the saddest backstory. So when I say the saddest backstory, I'm obviously not, I'm excluding Kuma because obviously that is the saddest backstory. But there's always been the consensus or the argument that the saddest Straw Hat backstory is between Nico Robin and Brook, whatever the fuck his first name, last name is. But I'm watching the Otaku Bros right now. Their consensus is that Sanji has the saddest backstory, which I will give them that because Sanji does have a super sad backstory. I will pose this question to you and then explain my reasoning. So, do we genuinely not think that Robin has the saddest backstory? Or are we just misogynist? Ask yourself this. Can we acknowledge that Robin genuinely has the saddest backstory? Or if you disagree, you might just be a misogynist. I'm open to argument. But when you think about it, yes, it is upsetting that Brook had to spend like 50 years alone on a ship. But think about it. Think about it. Let's be logistic and logical and reasonable here. He spent 50 years alone at sea after living a full life. He was like 40, well, not full, but you know what I mean. He was like 40, grew up into an adult, as far as we know, had a loving, supportive, fulfilling family life. He definitely died fulfilled. His whole crew died happy, doing what they love, singing for Laboon, accepting their situation. Yes, it is sad that he lived past his whole crew dying and had to deal with the aftermath and was alone at sea, got his fucking shadow stolen, and then couldn't go see his friend Laboon again. That is indeed very sad. But before I even argue Robin, let's remember, yes, Sanji's backstory is sad. And it does touch on the fact that, I'm sorry if I'm really loud, I just want to make sure that the phone is picking up my audio because the microphone is against something. Anyway, yes, Sanji's backstory does go into the argument I am about to make about how he was a child and this all happened in his developmental years. But Sanji, for a time, had Sora, his mom, had Riju, his sister, a little bit because she was low-key looking after him when nobody was around. She just didn't want anybody to see what she was doing because then they're going to pick on her, which is valid. But also, Sanji didn't live that his whole childhood. At whatever age he was, he eventually left. And then he instantly left from Germa onto the ship that he was on when he met Zeph. So he went from a shitty childhood to working on a ship and being allowed to cook and then finding an actual father figure who he loves and respects. And then got a somewhat family through the cook pirates, or not the cook pirates are dead, through the cooks at Baratier, and then found the Straw Hats, where he then proceeded, his life just went up and up and up. Compared to Nico Robin, whose mom left her at like the age of 2 or 4 or something, and then her life was shitty from 4 to 8 or 2 to 8 in the developmental years, mind you, Same with Sanji, but Sanji also got out of that when he was still a child, even though the fucking situation he was in before meeting up with Zeph was not the best, but that was only like 72 days compared to 20 years of her developmental years. Nico Robin went from an 8-year-old who lost her island and all the people she knew, the one friend she just made, her first friend outside of the Liberians who were keeping secrets from her to try and protect her, and then proceeded to be on the run as an 8-year-old girl, 8-year-old female in a pirate world for 20 years. We meet her as a 28-year-old. We meet her as a 28-year-old. So from the age of 8 to 28, her whole developmental years were spent on the run. Sanji went from Germa to the ship where he started cooking to Baratier. Brooke lived a whole life, a happy childhood as far as we know. He's like the only fucking straw hat that could have had parents, could have had a loving home, could have went to school, had friends that he then left to sea out of. We are now finding out in Egghead that he had backstory with Gunko. He had a mentor that was killed when he was an adult. Potentially, we don't know that much yet. Compared to Nico Robin, who was on the run from 8 to 20. You see what I'm saying? Give me a second so I can roll this blunt. But do you see what I'm saying? Do we legitimately not think that her story is the saddest when she spent her life as a child, a teenager, and a young adult on the run, constantly looking over her shoulder, constantly in fear of people betraying her and turning her into the world government for the money, mind you? She watched her whole island die. She found one friend, watched him die. Didn't realize until the age of 30 that he was still alive. Spent her whole life, those 20 years, trying to find a friend. Do you see what I'm saying? How could we possibly think that this child experiencing a life on the run, constantly looking over her shoulder, is not sadder than a grown-ass, fully developed man who understood how his fruit worked to begin with? Simply watching his friends. At least he had friends! At least he had friends! You know, you see what I'm saying? So, like, how could we argue that the sadness of a grown-ass man who lived a whole life developed in a happy, comfortable environment as far as we know? Because Brooke is socially awkward because he was alone for 50 years. Nico Robin is socially awkward because she was alone for 20 years during her developmental period. Can we talk about the fact that every other Straw Hat comes into the crew and for the most part remains the same person? Nico Robin regresses. She is on the same wavelength as Luffy, a 19-year-old. 17 at the start of the story. She matches his vibe. Because literally, I understand a lot of people aren't mature enough to realize this or can't recognize the effects of trauma in individuals who have lived highly traumatized lives and finally find a safe place where they can be themselves and feel safe, she regresses. She is known as the mature and the sarcastic and the smart one, but Nico Robin regresses when she joins the Straw Hat crew. She is the only no. She is the only Straw Hat to reverse kidnap herself. Like, peep the fact that every Straw Hat, especially Frankie, was kidnapped pretty much by Luffy. He just said, "You're on my crew now. I will not accept no for an answer," especially with Sanji. Nico Robin is the only one to go, "You wouldn't let me die," because she was going to kill herself at the age of 28 because she had nothing left to live for. Don't really hear anything about the other Straw Hats killing themselves. Like, yeah, sure, Brook is light enough to run on water, but if he truly felt that bad about what happened to him, he could have just jumped. He was surrounded by water for 50 years straight. He could have ended that shit at any second. I highly doubt he's gonna float. Bones still sink. He don't even got no fat. Fat's what floats. Well, I don't know if bones float, and I'm not about to go do science, but he definitely could, like, at any moment, he had two options: jump into the sea, step into the sun. Two options. But anyway, Nico Robin, after attempting to kill herself by letting the rubble fall on top of her, and then Luffy said, "Nah, I'm not letting that happen on my time." So she then decided, "You saved my life. I am your problem now." And he said, "Bet." She is the only Straw Hat to reverse kidnap herself. And then has fun with these guys, but then decides she doesn't want to be a burden because she is traumatized. So she tries to leave, forgetting that once a Straw Hat, always a Straw Hat. Unless you're fucking Usopp, but you know. Who knows? Maybe Sniper King was whispering sweet nothings into his ear, telling him to come back to Sniper Island so he could be better. And he let that shit get to his head. No, I'm kidding. I know it was all insecurity. Anyway, do you see what I'm saying, right? Like, are we just misogynist and assuming that grown men aren't responsible, but young girls are? Because why is it not the saddest thing? And I would say this if any other Straw Hat was out there on their own, their whole childhood. Like, hell, why are we not arguing that Luffy has the saddest backstory? Because he thought he lost Sabo, and we don't even know what the fuck was going on with Luffy between the age of born and 8. All we know is he was alone in not Goa Kingdom, that's the fucking fancy area. He was alone in Windmill Village between 0 and 8. 8 was when he got taken to the mountains and had an actual guardian outside of maybe Makino, who was probably took pity on this poor child whose guardian was never fucking around. So who was feeding this kid? Like, that's an argument. That's an argument right there. Because Luffy literally has multiple breakdowns over the concept of losing his friends, because that's how fucked up being alone made him. Why are we not arguing that Luffy isn't the saddest, doesn't have the saddest backstory? Because we see, I want to like, we see him, the most confident motherfucker that is unwavering in his beliefs and his confidence in himself, have a whole mental breakdown anytime he thinks he lost his friends. He will lose his fucking mind. He almost ripped his arms off to save Sanji. That's how fucked up the concept of not having his friends has him. But I'm not here to argue Luffy. I'm here to argue Robin. Like, at the very least, like, I mean, granted, she's not a Straw Hat, but like, you never hear, get off. you never hear any argument for... You ever been raped? You ever been kidnapped and raped continuously by God knows how many people? How many times? Force-fed a devil fruit, losing your ability to swim, so your captors who are doing God knows what with you, to the point where thinking about your time at that place has your sisters a shuddering, screaming, screeching, drooling mess. You ever been so badly violated? You never hear any arguments that Boa has a sad backstory. But it's like, have you ever tried being a sex slave? Like, getting raped once is enough to fuck you up. But imagine, like, getting raped next to your sisters. Imagine being taken off a boat and sold into slavery. Anyway. Do you see what I'm saying, though? Because why does nobody ever argue, or why do so few people argue that these women have, just, like, fucked up backstories? Like, I feel like there are so few characters where you actively see their trauma playing out on screen. Like, sure, a lot of the times it's used for, like, gags, but Nico Robin, which is why she's one of my favorite characters in media entirely, because, like, you see it with her. You see that she is a victim of trauma and that her past has fucked her up as a person, making her feel like she has no value, making her feel like she's just the burden, when it's like, no, these people genuinely care about you. And it's okay to feel safe. And the second she feels safe, she regresses. She spent all that time having to be cold and hard and guarded to protect herself. And the moment she finds a group of people that prove that they're gonna protect her, she turns into a fucking child. She reclaims the childhood that she lost. We don't see that with anybody else. Brooke doesn't reclaim anything. Sanji is the same guy that we picked up from Baratier. Like, the most you see of his trauma is him, like, feeling like everybody else's life and dreams are worth more than his. But in reality, there's no reason for him to have felt that way for so long. We meet Sanji and Zeph, and we see that Zeph is trying to, like, hard love, push Sanji away so that Sanji gets out there to fulfill his dreams of finding the All Blue. Like, he respects women because of Zeph. He probably hates dudes because of his brothers and his dad and how they didn't do anything when he was being abused compared to his mom and his sister that actually tried to give a damn about him. And I just saw a theory earlier today ironically on the Otaku Bros video, where somebody was saying how Yonji, the green one, Sanji's green brother, is always, like, starting shit with Sanji, and he was always instigating when they were kids, and that's why he has a hard time with Zoro. And I like that idea. But anyway. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, comment below and tell me why you don't agree. And you're not just being a misogynist that thinks that young girls should just be adultified and over-sexualized. And then that's why Robin can't have the saddest backstory, despite the fact that she experienced all of that as a child. And that's the determining factor for me. As an individual that understands psychology, as well as how unsafe it is to be a female. And, like, yeah, sure, we don't get the fucking gag that we do with Nami, where everybody's like, oh, she's so young and hot and beautiful and perfect, which I don't understand. And honestly, as a individual attracted to women, I wish we could sexualize older women more. Like, for one, why did you make Psycho look like that if we ain't getting no fucking bunny suit Psycho? I want my bunny suit, Grandma Psycho, and I want it now! I want my fucking bunny suit, Nico Robin, I don't care! Why does the fucking... Why are you booing me? I'm right. Why does the fucking Nami figure... They came out with 2 new figures of Robin and Nami. Why does the Nami one in a bathing suit and Robin's wearing a t-shirt? Fucking Just give me my sexy Robin. Fuck, give me my sexy older women. Older women. She's like my age. But feel free to tell me in the comments why you think that the other Straw Hats have sadder backstories. As I was saying before I got very emotional about Figures, is the fact that that happened during her developmental years. You know? She had a loving family, and then that was taken away at like the age of 2 or 4, however old she was. Far too young to be losing her parents, and then basically got turned into fucking Cinderella. Minus the fucking prince, unless you call Luffy the prince. And they're just in like this asexual sister-brother relationship where nobody relates to the other more than the other, and they're just like that. But like, nobody's saying Cinderella didn't have a tragic backstory. And it's the fact that it was during the developmental years. At no point during her developmental years did she have somebody to rely on, somebody to turn to for more than like 2 weeks. Because all she had was fucking Saul. And then, I guess, maybe the Librarians. But, I don't know, maybe I would argue that she had a better relationship with Saul because he was more of a friend and not like a mentor. And then the Librarians were keeping secrets from her, and she felt that barrier. She felt the secret. She wasn't old enough to understand that they were just trying to protect her. All we see is the pain she felt from this situation and how she just wanted a place to belong. And the second she kind of got that, she lost it. Because as soon as she became a scholar, the island got wiped off the map. So she became a scholar and then instantly turned into negative backlash because that made the world government target her. None of the other Straw Hats were on the run. Like, even though Sanji he didn't have parents and had no supervision before he got Zeph, he wasn't on the run. He just got hired by the cruise ship and then became a cook. He instantly started doing what he wanted to do. Brooke had a happy fucking life. The saddest thing we hear from Brooke's actual, time alive outside of how his friends, outside of how him and his crew died, was that his mentor got killed by his daughter. His mentor's daughter, not Brooke's daughter. And we're still learning about that because we are smack dab in the middle of finding out what the fuck happened when Brooke was alive. But, please tell me you see what I'm saying. Because that was a child. And I hate the idea that people genuinely don't think that the shit happening to little girls out there, just in general, isn't the saddest shit ever. Because we don't know that she wasn't raped. We don't know that she hasn't spent time in a fucking brothel to survive. We don't know that shit. We don't. She is a woman. She was a girl on the run looking for safety. Any and everything could have happened to her. Things that are more likely to happen to girls and women than boys. And I'm not saying that they don't happen to boys, but I'm just saying that a lot more can happen to a little girl that nobody is looking out for than a boy who is on who goes from his family's ship to a cruise ship to being adopted by a notorious pirate who nobody is gonna do anything to his son. Compared to a grown-ass man who was a grown-ass man and died a grown-ass man and lived a grown-ass man and just became an even more grown-ass man. Do you see what I'm saying? Please tell me you see what I'm saying. That is a grown-ass man. He's a grown-ass man. He lost his friends as a grown-ass man. Grown-ass men can deal with shit. And yes, if he wasn't stranded on that boat for 50 fucking years, he wouldn't even be fucked up by the death of his family. He would have just got over it because it would have happened and he would have kept living his life. I'm just saying, sadder shit happens than losing your homies. Sadder shit happens than being in isolation for 50 years. And that sad shit is the shit happening to children. because they can't help themselves. What the fuck is an 8-year-old girl supposed to do? On the run, no food, no family, no shelter, no help, no guidance, no nothing. Like, the only reason she probably knew how to survive was because nobody was taking care of her at home. Like, even the fucking flashbacks you see of her as a little girl sleeping in the bed, she's curled up, sad as fuck, because nobody loves her. Everybody picks on her. She didn't even have friends because the people in the town thought she was fucking weird too. And I hate to think of the notion that Nico Robin got her devil fruit, the devil fruits that are somewhat sentient and can go to people in case of need, and potentially ate her devil fruit because she was so hungry from being neglected. Remember, she was being neglected by her fucking uncle and his wife. Remember that? That she ate the devil fruit because it presented itself to her. Because she was so fucking hungry. And I hate to think of the notion that she ate it all, even though it was disgusting. Like, come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. We don't know how Brooke ate his devil fruit, but he probably wasn't starving. It probably wasn't his only option. Like, even if Sanji got the clear fruit, he wasn't eating it under distress. He was eating it because he's a pervert. Not because it was the only thing he had to eat. And yes, that is speculation. But when you put the clues together, we don't know how she got it. And she had it from when she was young. From when she was 8. During a time where she was being starved and neglected. How is that not the most tragic backstory? Oh my god, I'm so fucking snotty right now. Not enough to blow my nose. And not enough to swallow this shit. Anyway. I'm so sorry if this video was hella loud, but loud is better than quiet, right? Because you could always turn shit down. R.I.P. headphone users. I hope you had fun listening to me yell about this. Let me know which Straw Hat you think has the saddest backstory. And which character, if you don't agree that it's Kuma, has, just in general, has the saddest backstory in all of One Piece. I am open to hearing what you guys have to say. I'm curious to see if you agree, if I've convinced you in my angry rambling, made you realize you are a misogynist, or you think I'm full of shit and you have very valid reasons for why other people have way sadder stories than the little girl who was on the run, neglected, and potentially so starved that she sat there and ate an entire disgusting, weird-looking fruit that turned her into a freak with multiple hands and body parts. And let's not imagine, like, I don't want to sit here and think about what these fucking celestial dragons thought they were doing when they gave Boa Hancock the power to turn people who are attracted to her to stone, because how does that benefit you? That's just an instant negative. But that aside, what the fuck do you think they're doing with a little girl that can spawn multiple body parts? Multiple hands, multiple feet, multiple mouths, multiple... Episode, 2 of One Piece, the fucking mountain bandit was talking about selling Luffy into slavery because he had a little rubber body. What do you think they would do with a little girl that could sprout multiple body parts? Can we really sit here and think about this for a second? Because every implication is horrific. You know? The implication of the other backstories are not horrific outside of Kuma. Oh my fucking god. I'm gonna end this here before I drown in my own snot. Until next time, YouTube Nation, know that you are loved by this guy. And also this guy. He's gonna be king of the pirates one day. Bye.